So let's see, how can I ask this? Being present is being present on the one hand, which I have questions about, like what that really means. And then there's feeling the pain of our wound, which happened in the past. And I suspect for myself, I've had, I was a Zen Buddhist since I was 20. So I've had a practice of being present that I'm now wondering if that practice, I don't do it anymore. I used to do it all the time. Like it was a practice, like mindfulness. I'm now wondering what I was doing. you know, what was that actually being present? What does it mean to be present? And is it possible to actually have a practice of being present that actually avoids feeling the pain of the wound?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Do you want to tell us what your practice was, first of all?
Yeah, great, good. Yeah. I would say simply it was sensory awareness. So
Okay.
like constantly tuning into what I can hear, see, feel, smell, and taste. Like just constantly bringing my attention back to those things. I thought that was being present. Now, you notice I didn't include in that my feelings.
Mm.
I think I might have cursorily said, yeah, and my feelings, but I'm now wondering if that's, and I said, I don't do it anymore actively. I don't know. For so long, it was like, I think there's some value in doing that. I guess that's the question. Is there value in doing that? And is it a problem? Could it actually be a way of avoiding feelings? Or is that a way to maybe get to feelings? Those are the questions I have.
So, yeah, ultimately being present is what? To be present with where you're at. But I guess if you're not in a place where you're open to those feelings, you can't feel them. So I guess you're open to your senses with a limit on it. So I think what we're talking about here is where the limit is removed. So then presence becomes about being with, things that are maybe less comfortable or, feelings like that. Because ultimately that's, to be really present means there isn't a limit on what you're present to.
So it was good what you said. So I do get that. So yeah, like being truly present would not, I guess it's those feelings, the wound happened in the past, but you need to experience it in the present. And but it feels like I have, like being present is like, I guess maybe I think I need to think about what happened. I need to think about my wound. I need to have my attention away from the present. Do I need to have my attention on the past to heal the wound, or is fully putting my attention on the present going to have the wound get healed? So is occupying myself with thoughts of the past counterproductive?
Well, I think you've touched on something there that can happen where people say, forget about all that, just be present, the power of now, all of that. And it's not relevant. It's not relevant now. And you'll be delivered to the absolute. And yeah, but does that work? Is that real? Is that true? I don't think so. So that very easily becomes an escape
Okay.
hatch.
That is my main question. So you're confirming that. But isn't it still valuable to tune into my senses and to stay present in my environment? To tell me, is that, I guess, so it still leaves that question. Are you saying that is completely a waste of time and it's avoiding?
No. I mean, it's like, okay, to be slightly facetious, it's like how present are you to your present that's the question. It's like if you were really present, there wouldn't be a limit on what you were present to. It's almost like a degree of presence, And I suppose the idea here is that, there's this thing called personality, which is the limiter, the limit on our presence and our being present to everything, but also to the absolute, but also to our feelings. Here we're concerned with taking away that limit. And then you can really be present. Because I remember when like mindfulness became a big thing. I said, what's this all about? These people aren't into waking up, but they want to be mindful. It's like, well, what are they being mindful about? Well, it's like a without going into what we're talking about here, it's a very limited experience. And yes, I can see it could be beneficial because it could make you more still, perhaps a bit more calm, a bit more focused in your life. But I mean, here it's a totally different step, isn't it? It's like a whole nother step.
It's like, do I have to do something to get to feel I know I need to feel that pain, and I know what I felt in that session was so healing, and I need more of that. So I'm like, how do I get back there? Somehow it was through talking to you about it. It got me present to what happened, and all the feelings about what happened to me broke forth.
It was relived, and that's the weird thing, that it is stored not just in the physical body, but in the psyche and the psychological, emotional body, and it gets replayed.
It was the sense that, like, what I was feeling during that session, I'm actually feeling that all the time, but somehow it can't always break through. And I think it's like there right now under the surface.
Yeah.
Wanting to be felt completely.
So this is the sign that you're more ready, you're more in touch with. It's not, like you say, it's just beneath the surface, and that's readiness. And yeah.
And it took a crisis for it to break through for me. I mean, that,
Yeah. And that is often how it is, I think, because the personality is so strong that anything less often won't do, because you're so easily pulled into the operating system and the defenses, and without knowing it, of course. But in a crisis, that's why there are always opportunities, because you're in almost like an altered state. You're not in your normal functioning mode, which makes you feel vulnerable and scared or whatever. But something is possible because something is open, which can then allow you to go further than you would normally go. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's exactly how I'm seeing it. And then the next question is, how do I access that without a crisis, or do I have to create another crisis?
I think often it's the case that maybe the first big breakthrough is the crisis, and it's very dramatic, and you had a very dramatic turnaround in the symptoms, and that's how it can be. But that's delivered you to this place where you are more in touch with it, not fully now, but I mean, like you said, it's just under the surface. So that's all good, And I guess after that, this is like walking the path, isn't it? It's like, there's this phrase, I think, who's it, Rumi or Jesus used? It's like the bride waiting for the bridegroom. It's like your readiness means you're in a state of kind of waiting, not waiting, but readiness for the next breakthrough, I guess, the next thing you have to feel. And you're ready and you're willing to feel it because you know what the hell happened last time, and it's you coming home. So you're absolutely on board with it. But yeah, you're in a different stage now because that's happened, and it's closer to the surface, and you're kind of in the flow of your next stage, your next bit of the path to walk, it seems. And there's such certain things needed for that, right? Readiness, like I said, willingness, humility, the ability to have conscious suffering, like we talked about last week. But in general, it's this state of readiness. I keep coming back to that word, which implies all those things: openness, potential vulnerability, respect for the process. Yeah. And I suppose the humility, surrender comes in because we would say, all right, okay, give it to me. I want it now. I want it. And of course it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, well, that's where
Yeah.
I end up doing is my my
But
default.
I suppose what you can know is, like, I would say, if you are willing and you're doing all the things I've just said, it's going to happen.
Mm.
Everything's in place. Then it's life. Life knows when is the right time for it to happen, and that's the surrender bit, because sometimes it's hard because you're in a, you want it to move forward, but yeah, it's this attitude to whatever you've got to face, and the surrender to, oh, it's happening now, so that's it. All of that is another way of falling into the fact that you don't have agency over these things, that we can't control things like that. We are, it points you back to beyond personality, doesn't it? Beyond the idea of your doership. If you have that attitude, that's what it does. So in the end, it's like you're in the arms of, you're in the hands of life, you're in the hands of the Great Mother. And if the Great Mother says, this is what's happening now, if you can take it as grace, that's a way of saying you are surrendered and you're mature enough to practice conscious suffering. A lot of it is, I think, down to one's attitude, which comes from how mature you are spiritually. Yeah.
Great answer.
It's funny, I've just been thinking the same kind of questions, or reflecting on the same sort of thing. Like, it's becoming more and more apparent that presence or awakening is an uncovering. It's not something you can put on or you can practice. It's organically happens when you uncover what's in the way of it. So like all the practices, all the sort of Zen or whatever practices or meditation, or all the people who describe awakening from it, describe it intellectually, it's not much good. It's not going to work if you still have stuff that you've got unconscious stuff or stuff, repressed stuff. It's never going to work. You're bypassing, really. So like 95% of probably teachers out there are leading people down the wrong way, probably,
Yeah, if they're not giving enough focus to this, that means they haven't done this. Because otherwise you would know, I love what you said, Colin. I think it's brilliant. You would know the importance of this in the scheme of things. This is the biggest practice, facing. It's like literally turning and facing your shadow.
Yeah,
that's the biggest practice ever. You can do Zazen, 10 years. It's like, and if you're avoiding this, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. This is the fast track, and it's all there. It's all in your life, ready for you to do when you're ready to pick it up and walk it. So it's all. You don't have to create a practice, really. I mean, this is the word practice is coming up, isn't it? I mean, for me, this is the ultimate practice. What I've just talked through with Elijah, and those sides to it, and the readiness, and the conscious suffering, and the growth of your maturity. That's your practice. Nothing else is needed. You don't have to learn about fucking Hindu mythological ideas or Krishna, or that's it. That's all you need.
Don't have to learn Sanskrit now.
No, all that
can
Sanskrit
we
learning
quote
you
you on
did was
that?
wasted.
Can we quote you on that?
You could have been playing video games or something. But you won't have, yeah, you won't have such a good spiritual act going on if you can't speak, you know, Sanskrit, know all the terms. Yeah. I suppose
Yeah.
this is quite radical, really, isn't it? You don't need to know all that stuff. It's all in you. It's all between you and life. India is just a country. You don't have to know their particular words for it, or it's it's between you and your life. It's all there. Yeah, I mean, waking up doesn't belong to any country, any tradition, any person. Obviously not. It's between you and your life, and that's the beauty of it. It's all there. It's all ready to roll. You know, for you to pick it up, and as soon as you pick it up and make that your practice, as like I said, that's the only real practice. Then you're off, and you know that's it. I mean, it's quite. I guess it's quite easy to be at a certain stage. It's quite easy to be pulled into the ideas of, oh, that's what enlightenment is, and you have to know this and these traditions. And isn't it quite a relief to know that you don't? You could live your life and never know anything about any of that and still wake up.